Look at this.
Why?
And
Shiny.
I'm just going to have to stop saying I don't know what else they can improve, because I keep saying it, and every time they bring out a new camera, there's something new that makes a significant change. I've had the Sony A7RV for about just over a week now. I've done an engagement shoot with it. I've taken a bunch of photos and videos for my other channel around the motorbikes. If you want to check that out, there's a link in the description. And just so you guys know, this whole talking head shot was filmed with the A7RV and the internal video recording with my Rode NTG USB microphone. In today's video, we're going to go over some of the changes made to the A7RV. Some of them are huge updates and some of them are more of an incremental update, but I'm not going to pretend that this is a full review because I don't own the camera. I've only had it for just over a week. So if you want any updates comparing this camera to my A7 IV or the A7R4, give me a subscribe and hit that bell notification icon so you can stay up to date with any videos and content I make around the A7R5. And just for clarification's sake, Sony didn't tell me what I have to say. They didn't tell me anything, any rules around it. They didn't pay me any money. So these are my real honest thoughts about this camera. And the only sponsor of this video is me. I don't take money from companies to make reviews. So if you want to help this channel out, check out my link in the description for all my Lightroom presets and video LUTs. All the photos you're going to see in this review are edited with my preset pack. So if you want to check those out, there's a link in the description below. So in my eyes, there's one feature on this new camera that's really changed the game and has brought it up into a level that I haven't seen before with any cameras that I've ever used. And I've used all of the top-end cameras extensively. So that's the autofocus. In my eyes, Sony probably aren't going to like this, but I think it's better than the A1. I have really put the A1 through its paces. I've used it at weddings and low light, dance floors, and the A7R5 to me is definitely better, especially when you're talking about low light focus. Bearing in mind also this camera is only on like beta 0.1 something firmware, so it's a very pre-production model, and I'm sure it's going to get even better with updates. So the first thing I noticed was this camera, honestly, it tracks eyes and heads and people and animals like I've never seen before. Sony did give me the presentation on the AI autofocus and how it recognizes people and cars and planes. All the stuff you've heard in the rumors is true, and it's just mind-blowing. But for me, the big updates that I saw with the autofocus was low light focus tracking for video and photo. I did a little test here just walking from outside here in the really, really bright sun next to the window into this really dark garage with none of these lights on or anything. And you can see in this clip, I didn't change the exposure or anything. It's super dark and it just kept my eyes in focus. There was no hunting at all, and even with my glasses on. So the focus is definitely better than my A7 IV. It's way better than the A7R4. And from my experience using the A1 at weddings, it's better than the A1. Now Sony have told me that the A1 should still be a little bit better with like fast moving sports games. Now talking about image quality, you can pretty much expect a similar result to the A7R4 because it is the same sensor, although they have put a lot of effort into the processor, so you should get a slight improvement in noise reduction and a little bit better image quality overall. But for me, 61 megapixels has always been a real hassle in terms of wedding photography. When I was using the A7R4, it was just kind of a pain. But now that they have the small, medium and large RAW options, I'm pumped because it really opens the door for people that want to do event photography, wedding photography, people that are shooting a lot of images and don't want to use that 61 megapixels all the time. So the A7R series is really starting to become a full package. The menus are pretty much the same as the A7 IV, although they have added this new kind of, I call it a quick menu. It's as soon as you press the menu button, it's similar to the Canon function where you press that Q button and it brings up a kind of overall look at the settings you have in front of you. It's a cool new feature. It doesn't really make anything worse, so it's nice to have. The next thing that got me really pumped about this camera, other than the autofocus, was the screen. So they've obviously brought in the flip out and tilt screen similar to what Fuji use, and honestly it's so good. It does add a little bit more width to the back of the camera, but it's really well constructed. It doesn't feel like it's going to break or anything. It feels really strong. If you guys have been following my channel for a while, you know that I have never been a fan of the flip out screen, so I'm so stoked that I can just tilt it like normal. Just a minor thing for a lot of people, but for me it's a huge deal. deal. Now the body itself is pretty much the same. I can confirm that my A7 IV, A9 II, A7R4 grips do fit on the A7R5. Talking about video features now, the A7R5 now does 8K and 24p. I couldn't get it to overheat personally. I only have 128 gig memory cards, so I filled up one of those and it didn't overheat at all, so that's super exciting to see. Not that I'm really going to use 8K in a real world situation, not nowadays. I'm sure it's going to be coming more mainstream soon. And it does 4K 60, but it still has a little bit of a crop, which it was kind of annoying, but it's not 1.5, it's like a 1.2 crop, so it makes it a little bit more usable. Saying that, me personally, it doesn't really bother me because I'm not really using 4K 60, I really only use 4K 25. But those times when I'm doing sunset videos and I do want to do slow-mo, it's good having a little bit less of a crop. I just kind of wish it would have been the full sensor width with 4K 60, but you know, they had to keep something for the A1, right? With bitrate and things like that for the R5, it's the same as the other cameras, so you can now get 10-bit 422, and you can get 16-bit external recording in RAW. The other thing Sony have really talked about is this new 8 stops of stabilization. I can confirm it is in body stabilization. You don't have to use it with any software or anything after the fact. It does only work with some of the G Master lenses that have OSS stabilization in the lens. So I did try it with the 100-400 and I was able to get really sharp shots all the way to 100% with the 61 megapixel sensor at around 1/40th or 1/50th of a second. I think other people are going to get better than that, but I'm quite a shaky person. My hands are always shaking. I can confirm it's definitely better than my A7 IV, not by a massive margin that I'm going to notice anything personally, but it's an improvement nonetheless, and I'm sure it's going to get better with firmware updates. So my final thoughts on the A7R5. It's definitely a huge upgrade over the A7R4. Some things, like I said, are a bit more incremental, but the autofocus is just mind-blowing, and yeah, I think it's a great upgrade. It's interesting to me that Sony have put such an amazing autofocus system in this camera. I mean, they kind of have to because it's the next generation, but you know, it's getting very close to the A1 territory. For that extra money, I don't know if a lot of people are going to be going with the A1 anymore. However, there is still some benefits to that camera at that price range. So it really comes down to the features you're going to require for your specific type of photography. I'm not sure whether I'm going to be picking up a couple of A7R5s. At this stage, probably not, but maybe next season. I'll keep you guys updated, so hit that subscribe button and turn the notifications on. And I'll see you guys in the next video really soon.